In today's video, we're recapping Hitman, an action comedy film where Professor Gary Johnson, an undercover hitman with lethal skills, disregards his professional code to assist a woman in fleeing from her violent husband. As he helps her, he unexpectedly finds himself developing strong feelings for her. Before we get started, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Gary Johnson is a dedicated teacher who shares his expertise in psychology and philosophy with students at the University of New Orleans. In addition to his teaching duties, he also contributes part-time to the efforts of the New Orleans Police Department as an undercover operative. Initially involved in a murder-for-hire investigation, Gary's exceptional performance led to a promotion, and he now works as a contract killer, hitman within the police department's undercover team. In his line of work, Gary adopts a new persona for each client and situation. When given his first assignment as a hitman, Gary takes on the guise of Billy when meeting with Craig. During their encounter, he discusses his plan to eliminate the target without raising any suspicion, ensuring that Craig's alibi is solid. However, Gary's true intention is to extract a confession from Craig and then use that information to arrest him. In reality, Gary never carries out any killings and instead operates as a decoy hitman. As they were leaving, two police cars suddenly appeared and arrested Craig. Gary managed to secure the cash and also extract the information he needed from Craig. Gary's primary qualification for his new job is his deep interest in the eternal mystery of human consciousness and behavior. There are individuals available at a retail level whom one can enlist as a hitman to resolve troublesome relationship problems or execute financial schemes, or both. Gary specialized in customizing his services for each client, a strategy that proved to be highly effective. He would adopt a new identity for each job. Every time, he made sure to make the people confess their crimes, and he also made sure they disclosed the complete details about why they were planning to kill particular persons by hiring hitmen. Gary gets the money from them beforehand, and those payments work as evidence against the people who hire the hitmen. The young individuals also enlisted Gary's services. He had previously been hired by a teenager named Andy, who wanted to harm his mother. As a result, Gary ended up on adjudicated probation. His potential employers came from a wide range of backgrounds, including individuals of various ages, genders, and socioeconomic statuses. All of them sought out his services. While Gary regularly attended his classes as a teacher, he also successfully carried out his job as a hitman. Unbeknownst to others, he had been kept in his position by the police as an undercover agent to stop murders. His conviction rate is impressive. Madison, a woman who relocated to New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, has hired Gary as a hitman. She is married to Ray Masters, who is involved in his family's oil and gas business. Madison has a clean record with only a few domestic complaints on file. Gary developed a new persona, Ron, to present himself as when interacting with Madison. Ray is a controlling spouse, as he prohibits Madison from working or engaging in any activities, and even enforces a strict dietary regimen upon her. Madison, known for her amiable nature, is evidently experiencing a challenging phase due to her husband's oppressive behavior, which has left her feeling stifled and compelled to react in such a manner. Gary understands that Madison is not a criminal and decides to show her some compassion. He allowed her to keep the money she owed him and suggested that she start fresh in a new location far away from her abusive husband. He even offered to help her in the future if she ever needed assistance or reconsidered her situation. Gary tries to put Madison out of his mind and focus on his work. However, unexpectedly one day, she texts him a brochure about rescuing dogs. Even though this doesn't go under his professional work, Gary believes that Madison intended to text Ron, his other persona. As a result, he decides to go to the venue. He meets Madison there. She tells him that she got out of there immediately and now has her own place in St. Roch. Besides, she's getting a divorce soon. Madison thanks Ron. Without his help, she wouldn't have been able to leave her husband's cage. In the evening, they gather in a bar, sharing stories about their lives. Madison is showing a keen interest in Ron, and the feeling is mutual. Despite the unusual circumstances, Ron, also known as Gary, spends the night with Madison. He hasn't revealed his true identity to her, but he has shared some truthful details about his life. While he has experienced past relationships, his demanding profession has made it challenging for him to maintain a conventional love life. Despite this, Madison is content to continue her connection with Gary. Gary established a set of rules for them to maintain their relationship. One of the rules was that they must never meet at Gary's place. Additionally, Gary was forbidden from sharing any information about his location at any time. This was crucial to avoid putting Madison in danger if he was ever tracked or followed. Despite the strict rules, Madison was completely fine with continuing their relationship under these conditions. Gary began his days as an excellent teacher at the university, but as night falls, he transforms into Ron and enjoys passionate evenings with Madison. However, in addition to his university and nightlife, he also excels in his part-time job as a hitman. As they began to venture out of their love nest, they sought opportunities to enjoy quality time together outside, going on dates and dancing. One day, they unexpectedly encountered Madison's husband, Ray. He began to exhibit aggressive behavior towards them, provoking a furious response from Gary, who drew his gun and aimed it at Ray. In the end, Gary managed to frighten Ray away and left with Madison. While enjoying their dessert, Gary here encounters Jasper, the former hitman. Thankfully, Jasper refrains from mentioning Gary's name in front of Madison, which could have caused significant trouble. The next day, Gary's next task is to meet with a man named Ray, who is Madison's husband. Ray tells Gary that he wants to hire a hitman to kill his wife because they are going through a divorce, and he wants to have an alibi. Ray wants the hitman to frame Madison's boyfriend for the murder. He also has a special request that the hitman, in this case Gary, must look into Madison's eyes and say, "This is from your loving husband," before killing her. During all that time, they never sat face to face so that Ray couldn't see Gary's face. But upon hearing everything, Gary reveals his face, causing Ray to flee. After a few days, the entire team gathered in front of their chief. He somberly informed them that Madison's husband, Ray, had been discovered dead. There was suspicion that he may have been involved in a drug deal gone wrong, resulting in his death from a single bullet wound to the aorta, likely from a specific type of firearm. Suspicion fell on Madison as it was revealed that Gary had trained her in a method of shooting that would cause such a fatal wound. Furthermore, it was discovered that she possessed the same model of gun mentioned by a fellow team member. They also knew that Madison and Ray had been at a bar named Virgo, where Madison's boyfriend had pointed a gun at Ray. Gary, along with Jasper, sets out to gather more information. Jasper is aware of Gary's involvement with Madison, so he's taking matters into his own hands to uncover the truth. Gary met with Madison and was shocked to discover that she was the one who had killed Ray. Madison explained that she had heard from Gary that Ray had hired him to kill her, which had made her fearful and led her to take drastic action. In a moment of panic, Gary confessed that he was not a genuine hitman, but rather someone who exposed people's crimes and then brought them to justice. In addition to his vigilante activities, Gary also works as a university teacher. He also revealed that his real name was Gary, not Ron. Meanwhile, Gary was called into the police station because they had received new information regarding Ray's death. There were suspicions about Madison being the primary suspect. It was discovered that almost 6 months prior, Ray had increased his life insurance coverage by $1 million, with Madison listed as the sole beneficiary. The authorities intended to send Gary to Madison's residence in order to gather more information from her. As they arrive at Madison's house, they discreetly attach a wire to Gary so they can eavesdrop on the conversation. Just before Gary enters Madison's house, he subtly signals to her through his phone that the police are listening. Gary is aligned with Madison, and she must follow his cues. Despite their close relationship, they keep up the pretense of being just acquaintances. Gary advises Madison to deny any allegations so as not to arouse suspicion with a firm voice. He also provides her with crucial tips to avoid making any mistakes, emphasizing the potential consequences of her words. They performed so convincingly that the entire team believed Madison was not the culprit. Perhaps it was a random individual involved in drug dealing. Later that evening, Gary arrived at Madison's place, and he was startled to find Jasper waiting for him. Jasper had been shadowing both of them, sensing that something was amiss. He was desperate to reclaim his former position as a phony contract killer and was resorting to extreme measures to achieve his goal. Jasper demanded money from Gary and Madison to resolve the situation. If they refuse to cooperate, he will have enough evidence to put Madison in jail. Besides, Gary also helped a murder, so he'll be done for life. But while they were talking, Jasper suddenly started feeling sick and passed out. Madison had put drugs in his beer. If he wakes up, she's going to jail, but the overdose might kill him. Gary covered his head with plastic, and they intended to abandon him in his car in a remote area. With drugs in his system and no signs of a struggle, it would seem like a suicide. Through their collaborative efforts, they managed to endure the harrowing challenges of a murder case, solidifying their bond as a couple. The movie concludes with a heartwarming scene of Gary and Madison joyfully celebrating their marriage, surrounded by their two beloved children.